you back to history. History has always shown that whenever government tries to quell demonstrations and riots and people in an uprising, it's when actually the people get more power to do it. You saw it in 1992 during the clamor for multi-party politics. And even very recent history, we saw it in 2013 during the IBC Must Go protests. We saw it in 2017, 2018, after the election, when there were the People's Assembly all over the country. Any time that the government tries to use force, the people just become a lot more stronger. It's shown all over the world. That has always happened. You look at Zimbabwe, you look at Uganda. Anytime that the government tries to use force, the people always respond back. So they can do this as long as they want to do it. So the question is, can our economy sustain it? And that's where we get as a country.
That is where I was heading to, because at the end of the day, one of the concerns of Raila Odinga and his team is the high cost of living.
Yeah.
And if they continue demonstrating, it means businesses, especially in the capital, will be hurt by the demonstrations. And that means the same people that they're trying to advocate for in terms of the high cost of living will continue to struggle. So is there another way out?
I mean, I think the people protesting what's the alternative for them, right? And because you're always thinking, okay, there's a high cost of living in the country, and so we are demonstrating. If they do not demonstrate, will the cost of living come down? Because that needs to be the alternative. There needs to be an alternative theory. They were not protesting 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Was the cost of living down? They are protesting. So either way, a lot of Kenyans, especially those who agree with these protests, feel whether we protest or not, the cost of living is high anyway. And so it shows, of course, the hypocrisy within Azimio. And the hypocrisy is you're talking about high cost of living, but doing everything to hurt the economy. But to the people who are not playing the political game, because there are people within those ranks who are not into the political gimmicks that Raila Odinga and his crop of friends are doing, which is basically to get a share of power and to share power equally among themselves and whatnot. To the people who are showing up every day, to the young men, to the young women, to the who are showing up every day for those protests in different parts of the country, to them who are actually feeling the pinch and they're feeling that indeed my grievance and the only reason I agree with this protest is because of the high cost of living. All right, they are saying that this government, 6 months in, has shown absolutely no signs that they have anything within themselves to reduce the cost of living. They have failed to reduce the cost of power. They failed to reduce the cost of fuel. And when you're not able to reduce the cost of those two things, then you're not able to reduce the cost of living. And because the government with 6 months in has failed to do that, they have lost faith in this government, and that's why they're calling for it to go. That we need a new government to solve the cost of living.
Now, Mr. Sikolia, Jim talks about the government failing to deliver on its promises. We're only like 7 months into the Kenya Kwanza administration. Is it too early for Raila and his troops to go hard on them?
I know Raila and his team are going at them because of the pre-election promises that were being made, which were being made by both sides. And I believe that even if Azimio was in power at this particular point, we would still probably be having, be almost maybe at the same place. Why? Because this is not a creation of the last 3 months or 2 months or 5 months. This is something that's been there for quite a while. If you look at it, under the handshake, a lot of the things that we're talking about, we're struggling, when we're talking about the cost of living. Why? There's a lot of money that's been stolen. A lot of money that we do not know where it is. And that's money that, for instance, will be, helping government. I was just seeing some of the governors complaining the other day that, they've not gotten any money from the exchequer since December. That's been 4 months, so they've not been able to pay salaries. They've not been able to carry out expense, to take care of the expenses in the counties. And some counties are actually about to grind to a halt. Now, with that, you can be able to see, that means there are employees who have not been paid for the last 4 months, right? And these are the same people that we're now coming and saying the cost of living is high because they're struggling. They're working, but they're not being able to get some money. But if you go back, you'll find that the questions being asked, I've not heard any Azimio person or, a number of these people talking about what happened with the telecom, what happened with, the money that, the billions that, was being pushed around just before the elections. And this is questionable. I'm not seeing the urgency there. Yet if we could be able to identify where the money is, right, we'll probably be able to now ensure that that money is directed in the places where it's supposed to be. There's a lot of money that we do not understand where it's going to. So for me, I would be saying, instead of saying cost of living is high, show us how to bring it down. First thing to do will be the amount of money that we have as a country and the amount of money that's coming in as a country. Where is that money? How is it being handled? How is it being managed? How is it being disbursed? Where are we having these deficits? Yet at the same time, we're having stories of I don't know how much being given to the president and the DP in terms of doing everything else that they need to do to run their offices. The hospitality going into billions already, right? And yet the people who are not earning a salary. So on the government side, they need to prioritize, and they need to be able to say, okay, what are our priorities, right? What do we need to be able to focus on? And one of the things that they need to focus on is ensure that government is actually running. And that doesn't include the hospitality, the teas, and all that. I'm talking about the critical things first, okay? So when they do that, then we can be able to say, okay, at least government is looking and saying, okay, we need to go in this particular direction. On the other